Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of TheFadShow. So on tonight's episode, I'm going to be changing the lower oil pan gasket on my E39 M5, as well as doing an oil flush, oil change, and adding some friction reducer to it. If you watched the Everything Wrong with my E39 M5 episode, you noticed, or I pointed out the fact that my oil pan gasket was leaking, so I'm going to go ahead and be changing this. And then I'm also, just since it's a new to me car, I like to do this with every new to me car I get. I'm going to be doing an oil flush to clean out any sludge that may be in the engine. Then I'm going to be doing a fresh oil change with liquid moly 1060 and adding some Ceratec to it as a friction reducer. I also, I guess it's in the other room right now, but I do have an oil level and temperature sensor to go into, not so much because I'm worried about the life of the sensor, but just the fact that the O-ring is integral to it, and I just want to replace that to make sure I'm going to have no leaks going forward. So with that, let's get to it. So for the liquid moly engine flush, we're just going to put this whole can in here, and then you let the car idle for 10 minutes. No more, no less, because this is going to clean out a lot of sludge, and that will all get trapped in the oil filter. So you don't want to run it for more than 10 minutes so you don't reduce oil pressure at all. So I apologize to my neighbors since this is in the middle of the night, because I'm working night shift and I'm about to run the car for 10 minutes and the exhaust is not exactly quiet, but I opened the garage partially and I'm just gonna let the car idle for 10 minutes. While the oil's draining, I'll see if I can't get this oil sensor off here. Oh, that was way easier than I thought it was going to be. All right, while I'm in here, I'm gonna go ahead and take the oil pickup off just to make sure there's nothing in here. And by nothing, I mean no plastic from timing chain, guys, but so far so good. I haven't seen a single little flake. And I haven't seen any metal either, which is awesome. So eventually I was able to get this screen apart. It was another uncomfortable amount of force. I guess that's just the theme of the night. But I am happy to report that there's absolutely no plastic bits in here. So that's good. It means my timing chain guides are in good condition and not failing, which makes me really happy. I was not really worried because my car doesn't rattle at all on cold start, so I was pretty confident. But nevertheless, get this all cleaned up and put back together. And we'll go ahead and inspect the oil filter too and make sure there's no metal bits in here, which could be an indication of rod bearing failure. Not that S62s are known for it, but yeah, it looks perfectly clean. After you do the engine flush, there might be some like extra sludge in here, and that's just because it's basically doing its job. This isn't too bad. Definitely wasn't like a squeaky clean engine, but it wasn't super dirty either. So oil filter looks good. No concern. I guess I got pretty lucky. No plastic and no metal bits. Exactly what I want to see. And we'll just go ahead and put the new O-ring on here and go ahead and put the new oil filter in. I'm actually waiting for my GoPro to charge before I put the oil pan gasket back on because it was dead. Oh. I guess also while I'm waiting for my GoPro to charge before I put the oil pan gasket on, I'll go ahead and replace these pollen filters to try and dwindle my part spin a little bit more. They're actually in pretty good condition too. Interestingly enough, the lowest my torque wrench goes is 20 Newton meters, and these are 10 Newton meters, so yeah, I'm just gonna snug them. Use the best calibrated hand that I can. 10 Newton meters is literally nothing. That's why I'm using my short ratchet, so I don't get crazy. Just make sure you lube up the gasket on the new oil sensor. Now these are the same torque value as the pan, 10 Newton meters, so I'm going to be in the same predicament I was with the oil pan. I think this is my inspiration. I'm finally going to buy an inch-pound torque wrench. not really gonna help me for this job. Guess I could come back later and re-torque them. And this torque value, my torque wrench actually does 25 Newton meters. You ever have one of those moments when you're working on your car and something just doesn't feel right, but you keep going? Well, that's what I realized when I was torquing my drain plug on my E39 M5. And here we are 2 weeks later with the oil pan off yet again. And luckily it is ready to go back in the car again. So yeah, you can probably tell from the video that when it kept turning, that's not right. So I damaged the threads, stripped them all out on my drain plug. So I had to wait 2 weeks to get a Time Sert and then just have the time to go ahead and put that in. So I got new threads in here. Luckily I have a friend who has a milling machine, so I was able to drill this out and do it 100% square. You could do it with hand tools and I'd be 100% happy with that also, but since he had that and it was available, went ahead and did it 100%. So the last thing I need to do is just cut out a slit for the drain here, and then I'll clean up the gasket surface again and then throw this back on. It did allow me to finally get a torque wrench within the spec for these, so I'll be able to torque it at 10 Newton meters like I'm supposed to on the drain plug both. So yeah, unfortunately the car was off the road for 2 weeks, but at least now I have steel threads that hopefully will never pull out, and fingers crossed they don't leak. So with that, let's get back to work. Now comes the moment of truth to see if it leaks. I'm gonna put like a liter in and then monitor. It appears we have a leak, but that's from me being an idiot and missing the oil filler. I guess I'll be using a funnel from now on. But as far as the pan goes, so far, so good. Now, since I don't have any leaks, or at least I hope I don't have any leaks, I'm gonna add the Ceratec to the rest of this. I like to put it in here so it mixes up a little bit before it goes in the engine. I put this in every new to me car. Maybe it's snake oil, maybe it's not, I don't know. But it makes me feel good, which is all that matters, right? Now I'm gonna go ahead and put the rest in. Pretty impressive how quickly the lifter tick went away, the fresh oil. So the car is full of oil now, and I think it's safe to say we at least fixed one leak on it. It doesn't look like, fingers crossed, it's going to be leaking from anywhere. I'll probably leave the belly pan off for a few days just to make sure. Yeah, so this Time Sert, I guess, worked out pretty good. Actually, I think it wasn't even the gasket that was leaking before. I think the threads were damaged on it before, and that's why it was leaking. It was so difficult just getting the drain plug off, and it definitely didn't feel right. So I think that's where the leak was from, because the gasket actually looked brand new and the surfaces were clean, like someone had just replaced it. So I think someone replaced it thinking that it was leaking, kind of like me, and then the real culprit was there. So that's one more job done and over with on my E39 M5. It was pretty incredible starting the car, and you could like instantly hear the difference of the fresh oil hitting the lifters. Where it started up, it was like really clanky and clattery, and then just like instantly smoothed out. So that was pretty cool. Kind of a pain in the ass. It ended up being like a 2-week endeavor just to replace the oil pan gasket. But nevertheless, the end result was the same. And now I have steel threads in my drain plug that hopefully will last forever. And I also think that that was definitely the source of the leak. Because when I went to take the bolts out originally, it just didn't feel right. It was way too difficult, like all the way down, backing it up. So I think that was the source of my leak, not the actual gasket itself. But nevertheless, hopefully that's done. I haven't seen any drips so far. I'm gonna leave the belly pan off for a little bit longer just to make sure. But anyways, hope you guys like this video. And as always, if you really liked it, then go ahead and like and subscribe. And stay tuned for next time. I think next time we're gonna start tackling the power steering lines. And then hopefully this car will be free of any leaks. But you know, it's BMW, so I'm sure something else will happen. All right, thank you guys for watching. Bye.